Okay, and welcome to the Automation Bootcamp Advanced. Let's get started. All right, so this content may contain forward-looking statements regarding future product plans and development efforts, so on and so forth. What that basically means, if I talk about a roadmap item, something that might be coming in automation, you can't be taking that as a promise to deliver because product plans and priorities do change. All right, so who am I? My name is Jason Murphy. I was the N-Central automation nerd or the head nerd for N-Central. I have now moved on to a different role, and that particular title will be given to Paul Kelly, who will now take over all of these N-Central related boot camps. And I'll be moving over to product management. Okay, so for today's boot camp, you need access to N-Central. And if you've done the boot camp previously, you already have Automation Manager, so that'll be great. You'll need a test device to run these objects against, or these automation policies against. You're going to want to have Automation Manager open and ready to use. And you should have gone through the general boot camp on Tuesday or Wednesday, or at least previously. Okay, so why go through an advanced automation class? We're gonna do a couple slides, and then we're gonna actually get right into it. One, you've seen the value of automation. Two, I wanted to do more with automation, like how to get started, that kind of stuff. I want to know more about what is possible within, N-Central and automation. And four, I need help getting to the next level. And that is why we have the head nerd team here, the N-Central nerd, to kind of help you through a lot of this. Okay, so again, not even a couple slides, just one slide. All right, we're gonna get started. Now, this is a good example of how to do some onboarding. And I used onboarding as the theme for building some of this boot camp with Mark back in the day. Now, what we're going to do is install applications. So let me pull up Automation Manager here. I'll just do it locally. We're going to call this Lab 1. Copy paste. So first things first, we're going to do some inputs. Now we're going to add in, give me 1 second. And if I do happen to cough while I'm on the air here, I do apologize. I'm still fighting a little bit of COVID. So I don't think I'm positive anymore, but I'm still kind of fighting the remnants. All right, so what we're going to do here is we're going to move this over, put it right here, and we're going to call it in taco location, and we're going to call this the location of the taco location. And then we're going to do a little copy paste here. There we go. And then we're going to do one more. And this is going to be your app list. Okay, so we're going to call this in app list. Applications to be installed. Okay. Now, you could even link this to a custom property and house it in N-Central if you so choose, but we're going to hard code some of this directly in the input. Google Chrome. We're going to use VLC, Firefox, and WinRAR. Something like that. It could be, we got to spell Firefox correctly or it won't work. All right, so those should all be semicolons, okay? And now we have our inputs. First thing we're going to do here is we're going to look to see if the file exists. You might have it installed. Okay, and the first thing we're going to do here is link it. Okay. And then what we're going to do is an if statement. If, put that right below. And then we're going to link the query from file exist down into the if statement. So we're going to link that here, conditional equals, I think it's false, yep, false. And then we're going to do some cool stuff. All right, so then we're going to look to see if M file exists, or folder, let's go folder. So we're going to see if the folder exists. And then we're going to probably, check to see if it's C:temp. It's always a good directory to check for. And then we're going to do an if statement, because if it doesn't, okay, so if folder conditional equals false, then create folder. And this is always a good check. Create folder whenever you're trying to install programs, because you will find that many computers do not come with a temp folder. All right, so the :/temp. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to do some other stuff here right below it. We're going to download from file, download, down. There we go, from URL. And we're going to put that not below here. We're going to put that one below it. So let's just try that one more time. So you can see there. You can see there's 3 arrows. The policy continues down to here and stops. So we could drop something right here below if we wanted to include it as part of the then action. We're not. We're going to actually continue on with something else. So we're going to put it right below. All right. And then I'm going to do a copy paste on this. And we're going to save as this. Okay. And if it's already there, we're going to overwrite it. Then we're going to do, and we're going to put that one here. Let me just move that up here. Yeah, right below it. Pardon me. Okay. Click on the script. And let me just also do a copy paste on that. So we want to run this PowerShell script here. Okay. Now we're going to do a split string. Split string, and put this right below. So sometimes you have to wait a little bit. Put that right below. And we're going to link this to the list of apps to be installed. Okay. Pretty straightforward, because they have a separator, which is a semicolon. Okay. Now we're going to parse that list. So we're going to do a for each. And again, I talked about the for each yesterday or previously. So we'll put that right here. And what we're going to do is, in that split string token, to link that into the for each. And we're going to, sorry, I messed that up. Put that there. And then under the each, we're going to do a format string. And we're going to link this, for each value, and we're going to simply do this. Okay, that's it. And then the final step is to run the PowerShell, which is going to be one simple little command. Oh, edit. There we go. Choco install with a variable. Okay. Now, what we're going to do here is also now include the input, right? So I'm just going to save this for now and explain what I mean. So in the PowerShell script, we have, okay, so I'll explain this more in detail as we go through the bootcamp, but you have your input, and that's why I include things like IN, input, right? If we have an output, here, cancel. We have an output, we have, I'll call it out something, out apps, or something. Then in the PowerShell scripting, we're going to call this in C, right? In script, right? And we're going to call it apps to install, something like that, apps to install. Okay. And again, we can just copy and paste this. See, list like that. And then we're going to link this to that formatted string or format string, right here, which is going to be, where are you? String, I see you above, where are you? Or did I not populate it correctly? I did not. I actually included this PowerShell one below it. So let me delete that and drag this right here. My apologies. Again, edit. Here, okay, input parameter, add input, and I'll just go in script, apps to be installed, something like that. See, like that, and then we should be able to link to that formatted string. There we go, we finally did it. Now, you'll notice that the variable is not worded the same as my input parameter, so we're going to change that. All right, so when we edit this, you will see that this doesn't correspond with what I put, right? So we're going to do a replace on that. And that is how you link an input parameter directly into your script, because you're calling this format string behind it. So you're now effectively linking this into this directly into your script. Okay, magic, right? Now, make sure there's no output. There is not. Perfect. And that is how you do it. So what I want you to do is I want you to take the next 15 minutes and do that yourself. Now, if you have had a problem, I do want to show you one thing. Head on over to success.n-able.com. We call this the Partner Success Center. If you've run N-central long enough, you know where to log tickets. You can log in here, or you can simply just go right to resources and then automation cookbook. And then this is where you can download automation at any time, regardless of your login. It is open right up to the internet. Okay, so you can look at Choco or Chocolatey. Yeah, there we go. I don't know which one it is, but one is from this boot camp. I think it's this one. So what I would suggest, Jordan, is go to the cookbook, down this one, and do yourself a compare. Okay. It should be, it's one or the other. It's either this one or the other one is the identical one. Logan. Oh, you told me to never mind. Sorry. No, you need both. Just because Logan, I like reading the questions because the calls are recorded. So when I just talk to the answer, people don't understand what I'm talking about. So Logan's question is, you have to run, you have 2 run PowerShell scripts in the layout page. I assume that the first one is false. Let me look. Here we go, Choco. So follows this. Yeah. So there should be the script to c:temp install Choco PS1. And then once that's done, you're doing a split string and telling it how to install. Okay. Jordan, so the PS1 file that is getting downloaded is that what won't run. It should. I did it with 45 people this morning. But one other thing, Jordan, is if you're actually using your work laptop, your company may have some stringent security software or group policy preventing you from actually running PowerShell. And if that's not the case, I would do some more troubleshooting or again, look to the cookbook. Oh, did I misspell something in the, is there something misspelled in the manual? Let me look. Where'd you go here? Right back up to the top. Where are you? No, this is yesterday's boot camp. Give me one moment here. I have to go to my file explorer. I had it open, but I lost it. Okay, so let's go downloads. There we are. We'll put this over in Chrome or over in the other tab. It won't let me, but okay. Here, let me just look through install multiple apps. You know what it is? I don't know if I may have been fooling around with that particular amp, but I can see where the confusion is. So we've got one. All right. So please do not follow what I did. Please follow the manual because I know that works. But yes, I do apologize. I did include, thanks for catching that, Logan. So I did include two. There is only one PowerShell run. No, there's two. There's one right here at the bottom, input, split string for each, and then a run. Yeah, that should be right. Anyways, if you do have any problems with it, let me know and I'll send you my polished version that does work. All right, so let's move on. Minimize. We're going to go back to here. Example 2, desktop shortcuts. All right, so let me just pull this up in the manual number. Okay, it's way too zoomed in. Okay, so let me go to lab 2. And please, if I do make a mistake by showing it to you, it's only because I'm trying to read and assemble it at the same time. Follow the manual because I've done this boot camp many times and I know these work. Now, Matthew, absolutely. I mean, again, that could come down to how you're able to run PowerShell. So you may have to append something like the execution policy. I forget the flag in PowerShell is. I'd have to Google it. But yes, you can set no execution policy on it. Okay, so where are we? Lab number 2. Give me one moment here. I'm going to open up to, where do you go? Lab Choco. There we go. We're just going to start new. Okay. Cancel. There we go. New. New internet shortcuts. Now, a quick question for some of you. Is there anyone currently running Windows 11? Just say yes or no you just say yes if you're using it. You don't have to say no. Okay, there's quite a few of you. Okay, so I will tell you, you can build it in Windows 11, but you're going to need to run this in Windows 10. Okay, so if you do have a lab device, this will only work in a Windows 10 lab. All right, it will not work on your PC. So if you could remote control into another device, you can essentially run that amp on that other one. Okay, so we're going to do this. First thing we're going to do is we're going to get, actually, I'm going to make sure there's no Yeah, there is. Okay, so first one is input, and we're going to add in URL. And then we want the display is the URL of the website. Okay, and then we're going to type something like, you can type whatever website you want, but I'll use Anably. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add the in file name, and this is going to be the short. And then we're going to type in something like table website, like that. Click OK. Then you're going to click OK to that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add in an environment variable. This. And we can use something like user profile. Okay. And the type is going to be none. You have to select something, so just put none. Pardon me. And then what we're going to do is a few of these format strings. Format string. There we go. Drag that right below. And then what we're going to do is now link in the get environment variable value. And we're going to call this something, txt file name. And then we're going to add in the shortcut file name on the user's desktop. Okay. And then we're going to format this delicately. So we're going to back out this, and we're going to delete all of this text. Of course, I broke it. Nope, wrong bracket. We want the squiggly, Mark calls it the squiggly bracket. So we're going to go desktop slash parentheses 1 dot txt. And I use, whenever you're going to do an environment variable, chances are you're going to do a format string. It's just how it goes. Because I don't know, it's just a common practice. Like you're going to have to assemble something. Now I misspelled desktop, so which I'm famous for, desktop. There we go. But whenever you want to format something a certain way, you know, it's standardized. When you have a first initial of someone's first name plus last name, you got to assemble it a certain way, right? As well, what is another example? First name dot last name, right? That kind of thing. When I was talking about using Windows 11, it's this particular lab 2. You have to use this in Windows 10. It won't work in Windows 11. Okay, so I'm going to do another format string right below it, and we're going to now link in that get environment variable value, and we're going to input this shortcut file name. And then we're going to do the exact same thing. I'm just going to do a copy paste on this and then change URL. Okay. And then we're going to call this URL file name, something like that. Just like that. All right. And we're going to add one more. Let me put that down. And we're going to do another format string. So we're going to get URL of the website. The input is going to be blank. And you're going to call this, let me just back this right to here. URL equals 0. Okay. And we'll leave that, and we'll just leave that as a format string because we're not going to use this one as a way to carry it through. Now what we're going to do is some outputs. Output file. Okay, add that right below. In fact, you can do, I think it's 3 of these. We'll move right here. That was a CSV, wasn't it? No, it's output file. Okay, output file here. All right, I think it's 1, 2, 3, 4. You have to do it 4 times. That right there. All right, so what we're going to do here is, first things first is I'm going to just copy and paste. Okay, and then what we're going to do is link in the format string on the txt file name. Again, that's why it's important to rename some of these, because if you have multiples, it's just hard to figure out which one is which. Formatted string. Okay, and then you can append, go down. And what we want is internet shortcut, like that. Now, I think I have one of the brackets wrong. I can't really tell because my glasses aren't strong enough. I broke my other pair, but you can tell me, I'm sure. And then we're going to go into, again, the txt file name, and formatted string. And then we're going to come down. You want to click append again. You're going to come down and we're going to do ID list equals. And then we're going to add in same thing as before. txt file name, formatted string. Again, append. And one more. You're going to use the format string, formatted string. Okay. And this one and this one. So txt file name and the formatted string, and append. Now, all we need to do is rename or assemble the file the way we need to. So we're going to do a rename file. There we go. Put that right below. And then what we're going to do here is link in this and the formatted string and link in the URL file name. And there you have it. What you should do is now play this, and you should have whatever website that you added in the input directly on your desktop. I don't believe there's any outputs. There is not. Go ahead and do this particular lab. And I'm going to give you 50 minutes for this one as well. Example 3, storing storing values in the registry. Okay, so and again, there's a whole object that does this, but let's pull up the manual here. I think I'll just use this one. Okay, move this over, put this on my screen. Actually, that is not the right name for this. Second here. It's either that or I saved it incorrectly. I just need to find my manual again. Where are you? Using custom properties. Okay, so I'm on track. It's just my bootcamp isn't named correctly. I don't know what happened there, but we're supposed to be using custom properties to control system maintenance and optional steps. So normally, because I know I have a bright group, you guys are almost as old as I am, well, some of you. What I want you to do is just don't do the optional steps, but build lab 3. Pardon me. Go ahead and build lab 3. And if you run into any trouble over the next, let's see, 15 minutes, let me know. 1.5, save, and go. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, so we've got this, and we're going to build it together here. Actually, we're not going to build it because I already built it. So I really want to kind of get around the use case of lab 3. And we're just going to go through it together. Did anybody have any trouble with it? I didn't get any questions about it. It's pretty straightforward. And again, if you were in the 2 earlier boot camps this week, I talk about date difference. It's one of my most common objects. I love using this one for compares as to, what is going on with the device, what is going on versus what is, right now. You can do a date difference, okay? So based on that, let me just check on this. What you're doing here is the last maintenance date in that minimum days, say, again, you'll probably notice that I have a little bit of dyslexia. The minimum days, or the minimum amount of days is 15, okay? And then you have a global variable of last maintenance date. Now, what we're going to do here is link in the last maintenance date in days. We're going to drop in that if-else statement. And then from there, we're going to pull in the date difference result here and link that in. Then the number greater than a minimum amount of days. Then we're going to get the date. We're going to do a global variable assignment on the last maintenance date based on the get date result, today's date. And again, we talked about formatting of dates in US and Europe and everything else. So you've heard my little talk track on that. I personally like this one. You can use whatever you want. And then you're going to start throwing things into this policy in terms of a maintenance. So empty recycle bin, delete temporary files, clean manager, you can put in your own PowerShell scripting, whatever you want to do. And else, if it hasn't been 15 days, you're going to log this as maintenance isn't required. It's already been performed. And then you're going to do a global variable assignment, okay? And then add that in to the last maintenance date. Then you have your output parameter. Now, very important that if you have inputs in automation, great, you can link them to custom properties. If you have outputs, you not only can link them to custom properties, but you effectively have custom monitoring as well. So you have a bit of both. Now, the use case around this is, let me just pull up my Incentral. So if we come here, log in, I'm just going to grab my code. There we go. So if I go to, let's start at the bottom. I'll do it this way first. So custom property, so I've got service management, custom services. And if I want to add in that particular automation, I think I've already done it lab through, right? I can now use that input, right? And I can put that amount in days, I can link it to a custom property, very easy stuff to use within that custom monitoring. Now, when you want to do automation, and I was talking about this earlier today, is that when you want to standardize your automation, you want to use rules. You do not want to run automation through here, right? I hope, and if anybody doesn't understand why, please speak up now because it's super important. Because a year from now or 2 years from now, you might be new to Incentral, be going, well, I run all my automation through the actions menu. Okay, sure, as an on-demand action. You got a couple workstations that you want to run automation on. Okay, cool, use this interface. But if you want to standardize automation across certain customers, your proactive, your fully managed customers, that is why you add it through a rule using scheduled task profiles. And in my opinion, now I'm going to be taking over some of Incentral, not all of it, but there's some things I have a really big problem with within Incentral. And it is the lack of attention what scheduled task profiles actually get, right? So if I want to do things like automation, scripting, push a third party, whatever, it's kind of buried here in scheduled tasks. And there's a lot of power to this piece. right? So when I do lab 3, right, it's all right here. And now I can, based on this, I can output this to, if I had a custom, where's maintenance? There we go, last maintenance thing. I can actually put that in there and then output standardized across all of those customers who are getting, who are proactive or fully managed, whatever your programs are. So again, very important to be using scheduled task profiles to standardize. Okay, hopefully I haven't beat that one to death too hard, but I visit with partners all the time and I see how they run automation, and then they go, "Oh, freaking N-central sucks. I can't find anything." Well, okay, but you're using the actions menu to do everything, right? To run your discoveries, to run automation, so it's not necessarily a you problem. We have to do a better job with UXing some of this stuff. There should be tool tips and little bars that kind of just pop in your face that say, hey, you can use this, but you may also want to use something else, right? So we're not there yet, but hopefully we're going to get there. It's going to take me a little while to get up to speed and figure out backlogs and bugs and features and not a lot of other fun stuff. But like I say, we're going to do this together. All right, so that's lab 3, pretty straightforward. What we're going to do here is example number 4. Who doesn't love building a computer? Come on. This shouldn't be really called building a computer, by the way. This should be like how to onboard a customer. So based on Chocolatey, lab number 1, based on lab 4.1 and 4.2, and even 4.3, I don't go into 4.3 on this boot camp, but you can actually do a master policy. There's some things you have to do. You have to rebuild the inputs or the outputs, but you can assemble policies together in Automation Manager. So let's look at lab number 4. All right, so let me just pull that up. Here, let me just open up Automation Manager one more time. Okay, I'm going to pull this over here, and I want to do this. Now, I'm just going to pull this in over here. Okay, first thing first, we're going to call it lab 4.1. What do we want to call this? Something like that. Or I'll call mine admin for local. That's what I always use to standardize my local admins as. Oh, I did that. And then what we're going to do here is we're going to build some input parameters. So in, and we're going to use add in local user to create, something like that. And we're just going to call this username to create. And then like leave it. You can hard code it. So again, admin for local, or you can leave it blank, whatever you want to do, because it will prompt you if there's nothing there, right? So I'll just hard code mine. Okay. And then what we're going to do here is add. Then what I'm going to do is follow along and scroll down here. Okay, perfect. And we're going to call this in local pass admin password. Okay, we're going to drop this down to password. Now, of course, there's no option here. You can't hard code a password in automation, and you don't want to, right? So we're going to prompt for password. That's really what all that object is really going to, or input is going to do, is just simply going to, Matthew asked a really good question. Is there a webinar for rules? You know what? I should really build one. And I haven't, because I could literally talk about rules sitting here and talking about the horsepower behind rules. And if you understand how to assemble rules using things like filters, service templates, notification profiles, all the other little components that you can throw into a rule, there is a ton of power there. Anyways, That's my little piece on rules. But no, there is no boot camp or webinar for rules just yet. What we're going to do here is we're going to throw in local user. Okay. And again, we can link that to username to create. And then, is local admin or admin for local, sorry, is that there? If it isn't, right? If local user conditional equals false, again, so you're using this as a condition to see if local or admin for local is there, and if it's not, we're going to do something, right? We're going to simply user to local group. You can add member to AD group, whatever you want to do. This is a first example. 1 second, please. There we go. And then what we're going to do is now link in username to create. You can even do another input for administrators, or you can simply just type it. Just put users or backup operator, whatever you want to put. Whatever the group is going to be. It could be sales for whatever. So I'll put administrator. I should know how to spell that because I've had to type it probably 10,000 times. And then you can hard code domain. Again, your customers are going to have various domains. So I just leave this one blank because it will ask me for whatever it is. Okay. And you can type in, enable.local, whatever. Okay. So this is basically how you're going to assemble that first step. Now, what I want you to do here is build Lab 4. Now, there is one other piece. Okay. And let me just pull that up. Let me go back here. Lab 4 back. There we go. There we go. Okay, so let me just pull this one up and move this over. I can't see it. Open Lab 4.2. And what we're going to do here is just walk through this one because this one's pretty simple as well. I'm not going to, you guys were in the advanced boot camp. I'm sure you know how to do the drag and drop piece. All you're going to do is get system information. Now, what you can do here is behind this is a ton of information, right? So this is a script that pulls a lot of info. And then what you're going to do is link in all the different pieces that we're pulling, right? So description, domain, manufacturer, model name, whatever you want. In this particular case, domain. And then if that doesn't equal to your domain name, enable.com or admin for local or whatever, you format it the way you want to, then what you're going to do is join it to the domain. Okay. So again, a great way for you to standardize, at least as part of, you guys are rotating passwords every day using ID Glue or maybe Passportal, where you're rotating the password and then pushing that information into by API into your document management tool or your password management tool. So that's cool, but you can also use this as part of your onboarding step to kick that piece off. And then you can even add in that particular script that's going to run, weekly, daily, whatever it might be, right? That could be a whole other policy. And then what you're going to do is then assemble that together. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to allocate 20 minutes to get that done starting now. So I put the 20 in. Okay, go ahead and start on Lab 4 and do both of those. Or actually, I think there's 3 of them. There's 2 labs and then a final step. Okay. All right, so we're done that lab, and what we're going to do is move on here because we are right on track and we probably have an extra 10 minutes of time. So again, I'm not going to demo the custom service piece. We already talked about that, how to add Lab 3 as a custom service. You can also do things like run scripting, and I pre-built this for you. when we go, it's in the, I believe it's in the manual. Let me just find it here. There you go. So here's an example. So again, as long as you have a probe in your environment, you can really hit any IP address. Now, what you can also do is hit public internet if you want to, right? As long as you can SSH to the device, right? So what we've done here is assembled some inputs, right? Password, and then we've linked in the password using the username and password. And then all we're going to do is use send commands and receive response. If you have a simple command, sudo apt update, that's it, right? You're basically just telling Linux, go run, or Ubuntu or Debian anyways, that you're going to run an update, right? And then you can also append additional commands, right? So they're very easy to use this. And again, if you want to back up a config of a switch, this is how you do it, right? So there's native PowerShell with SSH PowerShell providers as well. There's a lot of ease of use around SSH, but one thing that I never really got into was scripting against network devices. I have it enabled, but when I was at an MSP, I never really did a lot of it. And it was really manual. We were a big FortiGate shop. And a lot of that stuff, we were charging time and material for, one of my guys to go out on site for 2-3 hours just to, honestly, he'd already upload the firmware. All he had to do was reboot it, right? Now, there's some risk in doing it. You can lose the configuration and everything else. So we would charge 2 or 3 hours for it, right? And make some money on the weekends. And now I wouldn't make my guys work every weekend, but once a month we would go out and we'd do a weekend and we'd bill our customers for that. Now, as part of your fully managed, package, you may not include something like that, but your competitor might. So it's one of those things that you got to kind of modernize. And if you can do automation around this kind of stuff, it's all the better for you. Okay, so go back using SSH command, uploading to N-central and running it. It's the same thing as all other automation. All you have to do is when you automate the device or when you come into N-central, where'd you go? So I'm just going to use this menu just to walk it through, but say you've got your SSH automation. When you choose your targets, right, you'll have executing devices, right? So I'm at the SO level, but if I was at the customer level, if I go to trade research, and I'll do it here. I'm doing something wrong. You should be able to select the probe. Anyways, this is how you do it, and then you can run the SSH command to, I think I got SSH in here somewhere. Where are you? I'm having one of those days. Anyways, you should be able to, when you select the automation, choose the executing device as a probe or agent or what have you. You want to run it through the probe and run the SSH command. Okay, so moving right along. One other piece of automation I do want to show you because, yeah, that works. What I do want to show you here is VMware. Now, if you're not a VMware shop, not a big deal. It's still important because it's just like running commands to Linux, right? Now we've got some pre-built objects that make this easier. So what we're going to do is CLI over to the ESXi host with DNS name or IP address, the username and password using these inputs. Then from there, you can get host information, right? Which is literally just a session ID. You're passing that through and using a for each loop and a global variable assignment to format and get the host and build version, right? So again, it's a really good use case. And again, this particular AMP is on the cookbook. So if you are a VMware shop, I hope you go on the cookbook and look for VMware. There's some good ones on there. Snapshots and a bunch of automation that around VMware. Now, that being said, we're coming to the very close, and before we end the boot camp, we're about 20 minutes early, but that's okay. And one little plug, if you need automation, go to the cookbook, download it, make it your own. You know how to edit automation at this point, okay? And if you need to watch this video, okay, head on over, I don't know why okay, so obviously we're not SolarWinds MSP anymore. Head on over to n-able.com/cookbook or success.n-able.com and click into the MSP Institute. There's PowerShell training. There's more than just this boot camp there. Head on over and check it all out, okay? Now, if you guys have any questions, either about this boot camp or about LAN gaming or MUDs, now's the time. Otherwise, have yourself a great rest of your afternoon and into your weekend, and I hope to see you soon. Or you can ask me about N-Central. Najib just did. Okay, so a question about filters, not related to this specific webinar. I don't mind. I love talking about N-Central. Is there a way to create a filter to grab an application with a specific version? Like, I want all the computers with Adobe version 12. So the answer is yes. Well, kind of. You have to do some stuff. Select applications equal name Adobe, blah, blah, blah. Okay, but what does it grab computers that have any version of Adobe and or? So a couple things you may want to do. Now, is filtering the best way to do this? I would say no. Is PowerShell the best way to do this? I would say 100%, right? Now, do you necessarily need to use filters? Okay, so the good thing about N-Central is it has what is called nested filters. And let me just pull up N-Central. Okay, I'm logged out. Let me just log back in. I can do a whole boot camp on filters, to be honest with you. I probably should. Or should at least recommend it to Mark. I won't be in the boot camp game anymore, which is unfortunate. I shouldn't say that. Maybe I'll do a boot camp as a product manager. Let's see here. 265. Or some typing and nothing's happening. Okay, so if I go down to enable here and we go down to configuration and filters. And again, I don't like how we put any of this together, right? Filters should be stuck right in here, by the way. If I could change everything, I would. Or I should say everything. I would change a lot of things. We'll see what I can do. So when you come in to add a filter, right? What we have done is aligned a grabbing mechanism based on applications, hardware, device, the monitoring, OS, some of the things that are exposed in N-Central. Now, if you go to right-click, new tab, if I click into a device, you can pretty much see what you can filter on. You go to Asset, this is what you're essentially filtering on. Now with applications, there's application versioning. So do I have Adobe installed on this? I don't. But let's go, oh, I don't know, what's a good version? There's a few Dell here. So let's see if we can grab, there's this, okay? Now when you build a filter, right? Application version equal to something like that, right? Now, I would personally build automation around this because what you want, there could be another application potentially with this, right? Now, I'm pretty certain that it will only find this. Now, your problem is that you're going Adobe 12, Adobe 11, 10, whatever. That's not going to narrow the criteria, right? So you need to build in some logic around this. Filters, this type of filtering will only do so much. Like you can go advanced mode and go A and B or C, what, and then generate that, right? You can do a lot of logic this way. So you can put all of that together, but you still may not even get what you want because, again, it's not robust enough to go, there's not enough logic that you could throw in this to kind of narrow it down the way you need to, right? So you can do A and B or A or C, you know, whatever. So what I would recommend is being able to get at things like your N-central API. So, well, I mean, I'm not going to leave you hanging here saying we can't do it. There's just a better way. Okay, so if I come into resources and I go into the automation cookbook, I have put on some API examples. Now, I stole this little gem from a partner named Robbie, smart guy, smarter than I am, probably knows N-central better than I do too. But he built this query, and I like how he scripts it. If you ever look at my PowerShell, it is nasty by comparison. He assembled this very, very well. So let me just open it up, and it should, my default should be VS Code, but whatever. And my computer is now locked up. Are you guys still there? Just say yes or no. Huh. I can't click on anything right now. So weird. Let me just end my session box. Bear with me for a minute, guys. I'm sorry. I still can't. Hold on, I'm just gonna end Firefox. Like 32 tabs open is just way too much. Okay, so let me go to my downloads. Where are you? I'll get the questions pane. I'll put it over here. Okay, so get software list. This is so simple and easy to use. All you do is put in your N-central server. You create yourself a JWT. Tell me if you don't know what a JWT is or a JSON web token in N-central. If you don't know, just say don't know or yes or okay, you don't know. All right, so let me show you that part. So let me pull up N-central one more time because I did have it open. 1 second here. Log back in. Maybe IT is running an update on my system. I don't know. All right, so we're logged in and enable. What you do is you go down to administration, user management, user, give it a name, right? So you're going to call it, so create user, you're going to call it API JSON, make a fake email for it, API JSON at n-able.com, give it a password, I'll just do all SOs, assign, user details. You have to, in this particular case, you have to turn off 2FA, click save, don't save. And I've already created this, all right, we'll put a 2 here. There, and let's go. There we go, and I'll save that. Once you're done, you've created that API account. So where is it? API 2. Here it is. All you need to do next, once you've done creating the account, is go into API access, and then you're going to click on generate JSON web token. gives you a pretty hefty key, okay? Then what you're going to do is then paste that right in there, okay? So that is the JSON web token. That is how, now, once you, by the way, so if I come back to N-Central, you might be like, well, there's no 2FA, like that's not secure. Well, once you've turned this into an API account, you can't use it to log in. So you'll never hit the front end, the front end interface of N-Central Server with that username and password, right? So, and I'll show you here. So if you want to come over, you check that. API only user, always save, done. Okay. And that's how you use it. It's pretty simple. Just follow the rest of the instructions here. Let me go back to here. Customer ID. Does everybody know how to get the customer ID? If you don't, say I don't. Ever installed, and okay, so Najib, you don't. All right, so you're going to need this. All right, so if we come into N-Central, I'm going to show you where to grab this. Collapse everything, go to administration. Now, at the SO level, each customer you have built in N-Central has an ID. Unfortunately, we don't call them customer IDs, we call them access codes. Again, another thing I want to change. All right, so I can talk about all the changes I want to do. All right, so it's one of those things that these are the 3-digit, I think they can also be 4-digit if you've got enough customers, but that's where you want to enter something like 103, right? Then you're going to export the file to where? Probably C:temp, of course, my favorite. And then you're going to look for an app name, right? So this will give you a list of what is installed, but you can also change the logic to, where is it down here? Okay, list for each applications. So you can actually see if it's not installed as well. All right, so you can do either with this. One second, pardon me. All right, so I would recommend checking that out. And if you have any questions, just shoot me an email. I can help you with it. How do we use the return or output of modules like get Windows feature? How can we use the return or output of modules like get Windows features within the AMP itself? I'd have to see the AMP, but there's a if you're trying to pull information, right, from a device, whether it's from the registry, and by the way, throughout this entire series of boot camps that I've done this week, there's one kind of unsung hero within automation that I actually use quite a bit. I don't even have a boot camp on it or a lab on it, and that is registry. Everything within Windows, I shouldn't say everything, a lot of things within Windows are contained in the registry. So if you need to pull information, that is a good place to start, like getting a Windows feature. There's all those features are listed somewhere in the registry. A little bit of Google, you'll be able to find where and then populate that into an automation policy. Now, I can understand what has happened. There we go. I've got UAC prompts everywhere. That is why. Hopefully you can still see my screen. Okay. So reg, R-E-G, does that key exist? What is the registry key value, right? You can change value, create new, you can store stuff. I was going to say it's a bad word. You can store stuff in the registry if you want, right? It's all here. Get registry value, right? Give me the base, give me the key and the property name, and that's it. Now, registry editor. So if we go here, everything that I use, typically 99% of the time, is listed under H key local machine software. And then from there, you could see, let's go with, what are we going to go with? Let's go with enable technologies, right? Automation manager. Here's versions, right? I can pull all of this information. So here's the name, property name, executable path. I can populate that. right? The entire key is listed here, right? And then the base. And again, look to the help file. It tells you how to use this. It's all right here. Okay, so when you want to export this stuff, okay, we'll call it key, right? And again, key, oop, key, all right? Then you need to be able to link together. I hope this concept is pretty easy for you, because once you've done this, you'll know how to output information here, right? So it's really, really important. Just link the outputs together, right? Okay, so that's basically it for me. I can talk about it. I can keep going if you want. If you have other questions, throw them in. I'll answer them. We still have another, I think, 5 minutes, 4 minutes. Otherwise, I'm going to say, oh, question. We've been using the FTP object. Is there an SFTP option, or is it included in SSH? I would probably say I would use SSH for that. I didn't even know there was an FTP object in here. FTP upload. Okay, so what I could tell you is, there's probably a better way, is what I'm saying. And using native PowerShell, using SSH or other mechanisms in PowerShell is probably a much better option. Especially with FTP. I mean, it's pretty basic these days, right? So using something more secure, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Now, could we build an object for SFTP? We probably could and should, 100%. We just haven't. So what I can tell you is that roadmap, that will be mine. Objects, development, or the lack thereof. So again, you'll come to our PAG on Friday, right? And I hopefully let me ask this question. Does anybody not have the invite for the Incentral Partner Advisory Group that is happening tomorrow at 11 a.m.? Okay, Matthew, perfect. Let me find it. It's in my Teams. Let me just pull up Teams. Pardon me. Let's go to Sarah. Sarah is also known as our Nerd Wrangler. She keeps us all on track. Let me just scroll here. Okay, here we go. Copy. I'm going to put this in for everybody. Okay, so if you tell me if you've gotten the link in the GoTo webinar, you should have it now. Okay, so copy and paste that, and that will take you to the registration page. If you have a problem getting an invite, because some people were messaging me today around, hey, I didn't get the calendar invite. I registered, but nothing happened. Yeah, send me an email. And here, I'll put my email in. There's my email. That's not going to change. Our enable manager never ever reaches out to us. I can tell you, reach out to them, Dave, and make them have a conversation. That's what they're there for. I can tell you, I was a partner of Enable. I work here, but I was a partner as well at one point. I forced their hand many, many times. I don't go away, and you're an important customer of ours. So make sure you're heard. If you have questions or if you need things, make sure that make sure you're vocal about it. Okay. Brian, you should drop Kevin's info if they are unhappy with their PSM. Who's Kevin? Kevin Kirkpatrick? That's going up the chain, man. I think he's a VP now. But yes, but if people aren't reaching out to you, go to their manager, ask for their manager. They'll give it, they have to give it to you. So absolutely. What is the best way to get one-on-one help with amps? Well, it won't be me, but I would say probably moving forward, it would be Paul. Now he's on vacation until May 1st. In the UK and overseas, they get massive amounts of vacation days, unlike us North Americans. So it's one of those things where he'll be back around May 1st. I would send him an email and say, hey, Jason talked about you on the boot camp. I just want to make an introduction, kind of get your help with some automation. And he'll probably say yes. Not always sustainable, but you are Brian Ventura. So, I mean, it's one of those things, we'll do it for you. Any other questions today? Thanks, Dave. I'm looking forward to it. I've never done product management before, and I propelled myself into a pretty sweet position here at Enable. So I'm gonna explore it and see what I can do and help our partners as much as I can. There's a lot of things I want to change in Central, and I want to make better. Not to say that Chris didn't. We have different personalities, so it's going to be an interesting time for sure. Manny has a great question. Why did you say Chaco is no longer a good option? I guess I didn't mean it like that. It's been in this boot camp for probably over a year and a half. It's on the cookbook. I just think there's a better example. Like showing people how to install software via Chocolatey is important, but again, you can download it and use it right on the cookbook. I want to be able to do other types of onboarding exercise, like showing people how to install proprietary software using command line switches, all of that other stuff. Who is this Chris Reed person you keep speaking about? I only know Jason Murphy as an SPM. You got to break down what an SPM is, Brian, because I know you're being funny at this point. Oh, yeah, well, I am now, but I'm not even a senior product manager just yet. That'll be May 1st officially, but I'll be kicking around the nerd team for another probably 3 weeks to a month because they're gonna need some help. Chris Reed's dead to us. All right, guys. So I do appreciate your attendance today. I'll see you on at least one more boot camp, and if not, I'll be your product manager moving forward. You've got my email. Use it anytime. It might take me a little while to get back to you, but I always check my email. Okay. All right. Thanks, everybody. Take care.